wonderful people, welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name's Steph, and today we're doing a rant review video of the 13 Reasons Why, and we'll be taking out my anger by making a pizza.
It could change the world. On we go!
Alright you guys, we are here today to make a pizza. And I've got everything I need ready to go, so I'm just gonna try to make this pizza and talk to you about the multitude of reasons why I gave 13 Reasons Why a 1 star. Now, this is not a review of the TV show because I haven't watched it and I don't plan to watch it. However, if you really enjoyed this book, do me a favor and don't tell me about why I should change my mind, because if you want this to be an honest review channel, we should be open to allowing everyone to have differing opinions, and not everything is for everybody. So if you don't like it when someone dislikes something that you like, do us all a favor and just allow that person to not like it, because otherwise it'd be dishonest and it wouldn't be exactly quality reviewing if everyone had the same opinion. So without further ado, here we go. I've got some pre-made pizza dough here that I purchased, so I'm not making my pizza dough from scratch. So before I actually start laying out my dough, I'm going to sprinkle on some flour for the foundation, and actually make sure that I build up a nice smooth surface in order for my entire project to work out smoothly and consistently and coherently, unlike the 13 Reasons Why. Part of the reason that I don't like the 13 Reasons Why is because it is a YA contemporary targeted towards a teen demographic that it is supposed to give insight into mental health and issues and suicide prevention within teenagers, and I don't think that it did a very good job, considering that it was meant to be hard-hitting for the teenage audience, and I think that in a way it kind of glorified suicide. So the story just wasn't consistent. I'm gonna start off by talking about the part of the book that infuriated me the most, and before I do that, let's get some pizza dough ASMR. So the part of the book that infuriated me the most was towards the end, and this is spoilery, and guess what? I don't care, because this is a rant review, so I'm going to talk about everything that made me upset. And that is the later part of the book where Hannah, our main character, has already reached out to all of the individuals who she felt had a hand in her suicide. She's obviously already committed suicide because we learned this in the very beginning of the book. And one of the last people on her list is her guidance counselor, who she went to about either the day before she committed suicide or a few days before. And this was the first adult that she'd successfully reached out to, and I say successfully because there was one other occasion where she tried to reach out to an adult, but it was interfered with by another student, but we're not going to talk about that right now. And this is when she went to her guidance counselor's office, and the scene that played out in the guidance counselor's office is actually one that's all too familiar, so I will say that that is a bit true to life, where a student will reach out for help but is not exactly sure how to do that, and so they're kind of being dependent on the adult in the situation to figure out what's wrong, or try to ask the right questions in order to make sure that they feel comfortable. And because in that one instance, in that one maybe 10, 15, 20-minute talk, whatever it was, that the guidance counselor wasn't able to successfully help Hannah open up in her emotions about what was going on in her life, she blamed him for failing her. She blamed him for allowing her to run out of the office. I mean, what does she want him to do? Does she want him to like tackle her down or something? He tried to ask her questions, and of course along the way some of the things that he said, which he may have felt were positive statements at the time and letting her know that, you know, he's just saying what he thinks is right in the moment because he's trying to get her to open up, but she's choosing not to. and she blames him for that. And I can see this as something that a lot of teenagers can relate to when they ask adults for advice, and adults give the advice that they think is necessary in the moment, but the teenagers think of it as adults just being not understanding or not being able to relate to that student's plight or whatever the case is. But throughout the book, they made it seem like the teacher or the guidance counselor just didn't care about what was going on with Hannah. And then towards the end, when the main character Clay finds out that the guidance counselor was one of the last people she spoke to, and the guidance counselor couldn't figure out her entire situation or her entire strife in that one 10-minute conversation that she chose to leave, they then go on to kind of pin it on the teacher as it's his fault that she committed suicide, partly because he wasn't able to figure out what was wrong with her in those 10 minutes. And I think that is completely unrealistic. They also go on to make it seem like the teacher is the bad guy by Clay saying that he disliked the teacher because it seemed like he wasn't showing any signs of remorse. And that is definitely not true, which means that from the beginning, whenever they showed that teacher, yes, the teacher may not have been crying in the classroom. Yes, the teacher or the guidance counselor may not have been openly showing remorse in front of their students, but that's because teachers and guidance counselors are the bedrock of a school. They have to come to work and hide whatever emotions that they have at the door, check everything at the door in order to be there emotionally for their students. And no one is perfect, obviously, that's the whole point of the story, but it's unrealistic to expect that the staff member is going to completely figure out what was wrong with the student and going on in her life within a 10-minute session and then blame that teacher for it and then make it seem like the teacher didn't do their job. I think that is completely ridiculous. I think that is feeding into a negative stereotype about teachers and guidance counselors, and it does not show the amount of strife that teacher goes through. It doesn't show whether that teacher tried to reach out to her parents afterwards. It doesn't show whether that teacher, how they reacted after learning of her death and how much it must have affected them personally. So look at this pizza. It's not even coming out in a perfect circle. That's because I'm angry. I'm angry. But I just thought that was extremely unrealistic. And then right after that, towards the very, very end of the book, that Clay ends up seeing another student walking down the hallway who's looking melancholy and seeming like they're showing personality traits very similar that Hannah showed when she was going through her depression, and he runs off to go save her. And I think that's not fair. I don't think it's fair to place it upon other students to have a savior complex, if you will. Teenagers are trying to figure themselves out, which is in a lot of the book, a lot of other students end up doing things that are really mean or that they don't think fully through before they do it, causing other chaos and other situations. But that's part of growing up. And yes, we should reach out to people if we see that they're having a hard time and let them know that there are people who care, and let them know that we are willing to listen to them and help them get through what they're going through, and that everyone deserves a shoulder to cry on, and everyone deserves a friend that will listen to them. But now this poor kid, this poor Clay, is traumatized because even though throughout the entire book it's very clear that he didn't do anything wrong, it's just that Hannah had a crush on him, and because he wasn't able to have enough knowledge and resources of how to handle this kind of situation of dealing with someone who's going through depression and going through and has suicidal tendencies, that he is now on this tape and he is now partially being blamed for the death of the girl that he was in love with. I think that is completely ridiculous, and that is a standard that is being set upon teenagers to be responsible for their significant other or the person that they care about's mental health. And everyone needs to be able to sort through their own thoughts and be able to reach out, and nobody grows on their own. We all grow within a community, and I think that is completely unfair to make it seem like teenagers need to be going around saving each other. Not okay. Now I'm gonna finish rolling out this dough and make it nice and circular. Yay! All right, look at this pizza dough. What shape does it look like? It's not even the right shape. It kind of looks like Yoda. I guess we're making a Yoda pizza. Okay, now let's cut up some other ingredients. First, as I cut up this onion, let's get some chopping ASMR in here really quick. Let's talk about the fact that Hannah partly blames it on Clay for not coming back to talk to her after she tells him that she's not ready to have any kind of intimate relationship with him, and he takes her no at face value instead of being the typical guy that we don't like to see in books, which forces himself upon women. Now he's being blamed for it, okay? Hear me out. So, in the book, there is a scene where we know throughout the entire book that Clay and Hannah have feelings for each other, and there is one scene in the book where they meet at a party and they are finally able to be open about how they feel about each other, and they start to make out or something like that. And then she starts having a panic attack. You know, she's uncomfortable with being intimate. She feels like she's not ready. She's been thinking about suicide, and she doesn't kind of want to bring him down with her by making him feel bad, which doesn't make sense. She continues to put him in the recording, which blames people for her death, and he's one of those 13 people, so it doesn't make sense to me. But she tells him that she's not ready. He sees that she's in distress. He doesn't want to make her any more uncomfortable, so he says, okay, I will respect your wishes, and I'll leave you alone to have your space. And then she continues to say in the video that she wishes that he came back. How does that make sense? He is a child. He's what, 16? His parents taught him that if a woman says no, it means no. And now it's backfiring in his face, and it's showing teenagers who are reading this book that you should actually press a little bit further and don't take the first no as an answer. That is not okay by any means whatsoever. So now I have my pizza dough and I have some onions to put on top, but I'm going to stop for a second and I'm going to start putting toppings on here. So I've got some pesto sauce here. This is going to be a pesto mozzarella Yoda pizza. So I'm going to take a spoon and spread it on my pizza. Look how yummy this is gonna be. I love pesto pizza. More than regular pizza, just feel like it's more flavorful. This is my pizza. We're eating pesto pizza. Deal with it. Alright, as I shred up this mozzarella ball that I have here, I'm going to tell you about the next way that J. Asher shredded all sensibility within this book. So after Hannah tells Jay that she does not want to engage in intimacy with him, she then has a panic attack and then locks herself in the closet when she hears someone coming to enter the room that she was in. She then, I don't know if witnesses is the right word, but she hears a girl getting raped in the room and chooses not to engage because she can't even have a coherent thought throughout her panic attack. And I understand that she's having a panic attack. However, I don't think that this situation was handled well at all. I don't know what happens in the TV show. I heard that in the TV show, Hannah herself gets raped, but I don't know if that's true or not. However, that does not happen at all in the book. It's actually another girl who gets raped. And I believe that the same girl who gets raped in the book is the same girl who in the very beginning was asking Hannah for rides to parties, just to use Hannah for a car. And Hannah, knowing very well that this girl had no interest in being her friend, decided to give her rides anyway. And I don't know if it was Jay Asher's, I don't know if by allowing that girl to get raped within the story, if that was supposed to be some sort of justice that was served for that girl using Hannah, but that's definitely not cool by any means. And then it wasn't handled the way it's handled. The way that it's handled is by when the tapes get out, that boy who ended up raping that girl will obviously be found out by everybody who gets to listen to the tape. So I don't think that that's setting a good example for teenagers as to how to deal with serious situations such as that. And I'm not saying all of this to make it sound like Hannah is not deserving of any sympathy, or that we shouldn't be conscious of her plight. And I'm not trying to victimize Hannah in any way, like victimize the victim. I don't know if that's putting it correctly, because she does need help, and she has attempted in a couple scenes to attempt to reach out for help, and it just keeps getting thwarted in many different ways. But of course, this is a story. Hannah is a fictional character, and anything that is inconsistent needs to be put on the part of the author. I stand to argue that Jay Asher did not do his research, did not speak to actual teenagers enough, if at all, as to what kind of thought processes that teenagers deal with throughout puberty and throughout high school, and what teenage social circles are like, or even spoke to teachers and guidance counselors about their own experiences, because we have a lot of them, let me tell you. I'm gonna sprinkle on some shredded provolone as well. Ooh, nice and yummy and cheesy, extra cheesy pizza. Okay, so now I'm gonna throw on some onions. Yum. It's very white looking pizza right now. It looks like a white pizza. We're gonna change that up in a little bit. I definitely think that there are better ways that a teenager going through a mental health crisis could have better been represented. There we go. Now for some more toppings. I'm gonna show you guys how to peel the skin off of garlic effectively. So you take a garlic, and then this little like nodule that's here, the hard part where it all kind of sticks together, I'm gonna cut that off. No, I'm not a cooking professional. I just watch a lot of YouTube. If you cut off that piece, put on my final toppings, let me explain to you one of the last pieces of the story that I detested. And that is when Hannah, after everything that happened at the party, after bearing witness to the rape, after what happened with Clay, and choosing not to be intimate with him, and I believe before going to the teacher, I'm not entirely sure, or maybe going after, I don't remember. But, and just so you guys know, I'm putting some tomatoes and olives on this pizza. She's walking by, I guess, someone's house who was at the party, one of the popular kids, and she sees this one boy who's clearly either drunk or high or something, hanging out with a popular girl in a jacuzzi in their backyard. She makes the conscious decision, and I will say this as I put on some turkey pepperoni, because I don't eat pork or beef, so we're going with turkey. she makes a conscious decision to strip down and join those two kids in their backyard jacuzzi. They invite her in. She says, yeah, sure, knowing that they are troublemakers and that they are clearly drunk and high from her own observation. She then decides to, once left alone with the boy, and he starts making advances towards her, and she says, you know what, I'm gonna let him do it. I'm gonna let him touch me, I'm gonna let him molest me, and then I'm going to include him in my video to show him for the fraud that he is. Now, we have no prior evidence that he has done this to other girls. Yes, what he's doing in that moment is wrong. He's clearly drunk. However, she has the ability to get up and walk away, and she went there knowing exactly what he was going to do because we saw her thoughts throughout the entire time. And she made the decision to put herself in a dangerous situation with the intention of putting him in her video and blaming him for her suicide and calling him out, if you will, for being a jerk. None of this situation is okay. Absolutely none of it. Not what he did, not what she did. And even the other girl who knew that something was going to go down between them decided to walk away and give them some privacy. Everyone here is at fault. And this is what I mean by glorified suicide. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, now that I've said my piece, and I've covered my Yoda pizza in an excessive amount of pepperonis, we're going to go and put this in the oven. Okay, you guys, we're here with our finished pizza. Check it out. Ooh, look. It's all goldeny. Alright guys, that's all I have to say about this rant review. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And let me know if I should continue doing cooking rant review videos because this really helped to get out some pent up anger. Alright guys, I'm gonna go enjoy this pizza and I'll see you next time. Bye!
It could change